Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about how can we get currency data from National Bank of Turkey and use that data in our instant or scheduled flows. So I will start with introduction, then I will talk about data source and logic, and I will show you a scheduled flow with using XPath function and instant flow with using ParseJson function. So let's consider you are creating a Canvas app for your client, and in this app, your client wants to execute currency transactions for their invoicing processes, expense managements, purchasing contracts, and some other process. For those processes, the app may need capture daily currency rates or some specific dates rates. And for those two actions, you want to create two flows, which one is scheduled flow and the other one is instant flow, and they will store data in some specific places. So let's check. Firstly, let's check how can we get data from those flows. Our data source will be National Bank of Turkey's website. And for our daily leads, for our scheduled flows, we will use today.xml. And for our instant flows, we will use year, month, slash day, month, year.xml. These two XMLs have some similarities and differences. So, like both of them only works for workdays, and both of them have same format. But for example, until 3:30 p.m. Today XML will show yesterday's rates, but the below XML will give an error if we try to use today's date. To use our XML URLs, we have to paste this domain in here, and after that we can use our XML's locations. So for example, we are seeing today's XML. We have currency code in here, currency name in here, and rates in here. And if you want to use some specific dates of currency rates, we will have to first place our year, like 2023, and then the month, like April, then the specific dates we want to see. For example, 3rd of April 2023.xml, and we are seeing 3rd of April's rates. So formats are same, but URLs are different, as you can see. And when we put those URLs to our Postman and use get function to get XML files from both of those URLs, we will have similar format for those two things. Like we have version information, type information, then we have the first element, date, and we have currency elements under tariff date. Like we have American dollar, we have Australian dollar. Similar to today's XML, specific dates XML has same format and same informations, just with different rates. As you can see, we start with tarih data element and currency under it, and we start with American dollar. But our currency rate in 3rd of April 19.70, but in here we have 19.20. So we can use same functions, same methods for those two XML files, but to capture them from their website, we have to use different URLs. And we have to be careful about these differences and these restrictions. So, if you get data source and its logic, let's start with scheduled flow and using XPath. For this, we will create a scheduled cloud flow. Let's give it a name. And this flow will work every day, and it will capture that day's currency rates from National Bank of Turkey website. So this will repeat every day, every 1 day, so it's every day. And to prevent conflicts in currency rates, we will run this flow at like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. because we don't want to use this flow, run this flow in work hours. As I mentioned before, National Bank publish its currency rates for that day at 3:30 p.m. So, because of that, every company in general use previous days currency rate for their daily transactions. Like we are in 5th of April, so if I was an accountant for a company, I will use 4th of April for my invoices, which I introduce or create today. For this logic, we will run this flow at 10 p.m. after work hours. We will create this one. So it will give our trigger, but we have to give some actions. To get XML file, we will use HTTP. We will use get method, and we will use our website's URL to get data. This will be our real URL, but let's check it if it is correct. Sorry. Yes, in here we have to correct this one. So it shows us a currency rate. It's supposed to be today's rate, but as I mentioned, until 3:30 p.m. it won't cite today's rate. So until 3:30 it will show yesterday's rates, but after 3:30 we will see 5th of April in here. So URL is correct. For new step, we will start to compose our data, our XML. we will use XPath function. We will use XML in here, and XML will get body of HTTP. And after that, we will use our first manipulation, which I use this expression in here. So I am using this expression to get currencies from this XML file, and XPath will help me to do this extraction. Let's save it and check what are we getting in here. Let's check manually. From flow. So it's running. It's run successfully. We get something from here. Status code is 200. Okay, it's successful, and we get same XML file which I showed you in Postman. We have date, start date element. We have currencies. We have rates. We have name. We have currency name in English, in Turkish. So we have our XML file in here, and with XPath we have some data from that XML file. The thing is with XPath is that XPath won't give you some strings, some numbers. It will give you some contents. So you have to deal with this content in order to get something from it. Let's by the way, it will give you a table if there are more than one thing, and you have to deal with a table. So for that one we have to put apply to each in here. Output will be compose output. So the array the compose provides us. Again, we will use compose in here to compose that output. And firstly, let's check our objects, our contents with XML function. If they are an XML content, it will give us an XML format. So the output will be current item. So let's item in here and test this again on flow. So it will take some time to go through all of those items in this array, but it's completed. As you can see, XML function composed that every item and provides us a readable XML function, XML file. As you can see, we have currency in here because we got rid of tarih date element in previous step, and we have currency rates, currency name, every property of that currency we have in here. But as I said, this is a table, so we have to use apply to each, and we have to look every item separately. There are 23 items, and as you can see, when we click next, we will see the next item, next currency, Australian dollar, and we will see the next Danish krone. It will goes like this. So, but let's say we want to store this data in somewhere in our Dataverse, in some table. In order to store your data in Dataverse, you have two options. You can use currency table, and it's a default table which Microsoft provides to you, or you can create your own customized table for this process. For this example, I created a custom table, and let me show you. ID is a auto number, so it's not from our XML, but we have to keep it for some usage. We have kurtari, which is this flows date, and of course, and this XML files date in here, date, and döviz kodu, it is code, currencies code, which XML provides us. Döviz ismi, the name of the currency, and the rates, forex buying, selling, banknote buying, and selling. So for this example, we will use this one, but you can always use currency table of Microsoft Dataverse. Let's start to add rows in our table. For this, we will use the row action. Okay, table name will be our table name. To pass necessary data from our XML file to our table, we have to go through each element, each currency, and we have to get data from those currencies. What we have in here, we have döviz ismi, which is the name of the currency. We have döviz kodu, code of the currency. We have kur tarihi, the date of this XML file and the date of these currencies. And we have banknote buying, banknote selling, forex buying, and forex selling. We have to put those informations to get a necessary table for our currency transactions. How we can put information from these outputs, these items, and to this table? We will use again XPath function, and we have to push an XML in here in XPath function, and we will use current item. So we get XML from here, we compose it in here to capture just for currencies, and for every currency we have to manipulate that currencies elements in these separate columns. We get current XML and we push it into XML function, and we need an output which XPath will provide us. So we have to mention our element, and we have to mention the sub element we want to use it in here. So for döviz ismi, of course, we will use sim element in here, and this will provide us this current item, current currencies is sim, and it will push that variable into here. But the thing is that, as I mentioned before, XPath won't provide some string, some float, some number. It will provide a content, and because it just provides the content, we have to tell the flow the type of that content. So in here, in the inside of this, we have to tell our flow the type of this variable. So our isim, of course it is a string, but be careful, it should be in here, not outside of this, like this. Okay, so if you do that like that, it will give an error. And for currencies isim, we can use XPath, this XPath function. For code of the currency, again we will use string like this, and we will use code, but our currency is code not a sub element, so it is an attribute of this element tag. So currency is attribute, and because it is an attribute, we cannot just use like this. We have to put this symbol in here to tell flow this is an attribute, not a sub element. And like this we can handle this one too. Kur tarihi, for kur tarihi, XML just provides us the date. If you want to use this one, you can use it, but we have to go, if you want to use also not just date but also time, I suggest you to use this expression UTC now, and this will help you to prevent working in two layer, because currently we are in this layer, not in here, not in this element layer, but this element layer. But of course, date information in this layer. We have to go to this layer in here to capture that element attribute, but it is a it is extra work. So you can just use UTC now to capture date of this currency rates. It will work. And for banknote buying, for the rates, there is a trick in here. Some of the rates, some of the elements of currencies are empty, and some of the rates are empty too. Like for example, let me give you an example. For Bulgarian lev, Forex buying and forex selling are in here, but banknote buying and banknote selling are empty. Because of this reason, you cannot just push this function in here and expect from the flow to do its work successfully. It will give an error when it's faced with empty columns, empty variables for these columns. So again, we will use this XPath function, and let's check. Update this element. For banknote bank, we will use banknote bank. But to check if it is empty or if it has some variable, we will use if function, and to check if it is empty, we will use empty function in here. And then if it is empty, if empty function provides us a true value, we will use 0 to put some variable in here, like this, to put 0 in here. And but if it's not empty, of course we can use XPath, because it will have some values and we want those values. Again, we will use and we will use we will use this function, this expression format for all of those rates, like banknote selling, gain, banknote selling, forex buying. Okay, we will use forex buying. Okay, and forex selling, we will use same function, just with forex selling element. Check. Yeah. So these are expressions, and these are formulas, and this is our table, döviz kurları. We have ID in here. It's auto increment, so no problem. We don't have to put something in here. We have kur tarihi, the date of the rates. We have döviz kodu, currency's code. We have döviz ismi, the name of the currency, and the rates in here. So it is an empty list for now. Let's test this manually. And our flow is running. It will take some time for this step, because there are 23 elements, currencies, but it ran successfully. Let me check the table. And yes, it will give us the date, today's date, but again it will show yesterday's rates because of the logic. at 3:30. We have 27 minutes. And we have rates, we have name, we have code. This will be helpful for if you want to use some combo box or some drop down in your app. And of course, it will provide a more clear option selection for the user instead of this one. You can just use this one, but you can use this one too, no problem. And like this, you have your list every day, and in the app you can use just the last currency of your selected currency, because of course we are seeing just one USD in here, but 5 days later we will see 5 USD with different dates and different rates. And for the for your invoices, for your expenses or contracts, if you want to use these dates, if you want to introduce them today, you can just use last function in Power Apps to catch the last currency. Yes, it is like this. And now we will talk about instant flow and ParseJson function. For this one, we will create an instant flow similar to scheduled flow, but different at some point. We will get XML data with year, month, slash day, month, year .xml using HTTP. It's different from today.xml. We will manipulate XML data with XML and ParseJson. And lastly, we will use that data in Power Apps with ParseJson function. So let's create a instant cloud flow. Let's give it a name, flow. But you want to use this instant cloud flow when a user from app wants to catch a specific date currency. So we will use this in Power Apps. So trigger will be Power Apps. We will start again. We will start with HTTP. We will use get method to get HTTP, but in here we have a different URL, as you know. We don't have just here and today XML, but we have a different XML URL. We will have year, month, day, month, and year. XML. So somehow we have to catch this date from our user, from our Power Apps, and push it in here. To do this, we will use this one, and for the rest of the URL, we will use and ask in Power Apps content. So we will use a date picker in Power Apps, and it will push a date in this format for us, and we can grab that date's currency rates like this. So XML. After that, we have to use ParseJson to take that XML file and parse it and convert it to a JSON file. The content will be not just like HTTP body, because we have to do some manipulation in here. We have to first look at our XML file. So what we have in here, we have at top, we have version, we have type, and we have tarih date element. So we just want to use currency elements, so we have to get rid of these. And for this, because these are just informations, we can just replace them. But for element, this tarih date element, we have to do something else. Okay, then let's start with this one. We have to replace this with nothing. So let's replace, use replace function, and for replace function we will use body of this HTTP, so it will be the XML file, but of course replace function wants to a string, wants to a text. We have to convert this body to a string, and now all of these things will be a string variable, and we can change these two things to nothing, like this. These ones, and we will replace this with nothing. So, is it helpful? Yes, but it is not the end of our expression. For ParseJson, we have to put a string here, ParseJson function, and this string, to get a schema from it, we have to put it an XML function, and after that we have to put that XML function into a JSON function. So we get a data from XML file. Data is this one, without these two things. So we need a schema, but to get a schema we can just use something like this, and generate. Yes. So we will put the real schema, but currently we have to just test this and get the schema in here. So we have to put it here. Normally it will get from Power Apps, but for now we will provide it. And yes, as you can see, we turn our XML file into a JSON file. So now we can take this one, this output, and we can use this one to generate a sample schema, and of course it will provide us the real schema of the JSON file. And then, because we have to get rid of this main element, tarih date element, we have to use another ParseJson action ParseJson, and this time we will use some outputs from previous ParseJson. What are those? We have body, we have item, we have tarih date, we have attributes of tarih date, as you can see, date, bülten no, tarih, and we have attributes of currency elements, but we have currency name, forex bind, all of those things we can grab from here, but we need currencies, all of those currencies. So we have to find currency here, and again we have to push a sample. Let's create something like this. You can find a better way, of course, to do this, but let's see. Let's check with the last flow, and one flow failed. Why it's failed? The schema is failed. Let's generate from sample, I guess. The odd thing is, first ParseJson is problematic. So content. Of course, our rules again. They are the problems. We have to put string or not or, but something like this. Again to this, and again this will be just like this. String. Yes, I guess there are no other empty values. It will save and it will run. This time in here, because we have to do the same thing for this one. We can just grab content and we can create from sample, and for these ones we can use this expression. Sorry. And yes, it will give us the necessary JSON file, which only shows currencies and won't show these additional things for us. And let's check it, no problem. And after that we will push this to Power Apps. It will run successfully, as you can see. we have a beautiful JSON in here. New step will be initialize a variable to pass it into our app. So we will give this, what can we do this? Yes, this will be a string. Value will be ParseJson, second ParseJson body. And new step, we have to respond these two power-ups. So this flow will get date from power-ups and catch that date's currency rates as an XML. It will manipulate the XML to turn it to a JSON file, and after that create a variable from that JSON file and push that JSON files variable, you can say, to our app. Okay, let's create a blank app to check it. You can create lecture instance flow app. Let's call it like that. Okay, so firstly, to get data and to give it to the Power Automate, we need a date picker in here. It will show default date, it will show today. And we will put a button in here to get this this selected date at flow picture instant flow select set. So what we have in here, lecture instant flow dot run. We need to put something in here to give it a specific date, and for this one we can use date picker selected date, but our selected date won't work with this one because it will give us a format only shows month, date and year, but we need something else. Let me show you with a label what we get in here. Set AA date picker, one selected date, and A will be, as you can see, this won't help us in here because we don't have slashes between date, month and year, and we have a different format in here. We don't have a format month, date, year, and also we need to put year and month with slash before our selected date. So we will just use text function, and for format we will use something like this: year, month, day, month, year. So this will give same thing, same format like this. Again, we can use this one in here. We have to, not can, we have to, let's grab this one, text selected date, and year, month, date, month, year. Okay. This will run the flow with our selected date. And then we have to get data flows output from here. What can we do? We can do this thing. We can set a variable response, we can say, with lecture instant flow run dot result. We can get that result in here. And of course, we have to push the selected date in here to run this. So we can just erase this one and use this one here. And we will get a result. So let's show the result in here. We have response. Now let's click this one, and yes, we have something like this. This is a JSON file. So we push a selected date to our flow. We get a JSON file which includes currencies and their rates, their information, additional information, attributes, elements. But we have to put this information, of course, more readable format. What can we do? We can just simply create a gallery in here. You can use just, let's show two things from here, currency code and forex buying rate. For this gallery we will use response, but of course response won't be handled in here because it is a JSON file, and we have to handle this with ParseJson function in response. So it will provide us an untyped object, and we have to give a type to this object, like XPath. As you know, it's just give a content without type, so we have to specify a type for this one. And for this we can just show this is a table to our app. But of course we have always some errors. Without error, you can do that. So yes. Why we have this error? Let me check. Of course, first we have to activate the ParseJson function. This is an experimental feature. We have to activate this feature. We have to save this. And we have to refresh the page to activate, to make that activate happen. Let's save it. And then we can use our ParseJson function in our app. And let's save it. Come on. So let's give it this and save it again. Maybe it's, of course. So we saved it. We should reload the app and it will activate the feature. And we will be able to use ParseJson function here. Yes, now we can use ParseJson. This will show a table. Let's select a date, Monday. Let's check Monday. Let's grab Monday's currency rates. And of course, this will take ParseJson to a table. You can see there are items in here, but if in ParseJson you cannot just use something like this. This item sim won't work because ParseJson's output is a value, and you have to use value, and then you have to use your elements or your attribute name. So we use forex like this, and of course, because it is an experimental usage and it won't directly give you the ability to reach these things, you won't see anything after you put comma in here. You have to know what will you use, and then we'll have a table. If I want to, I can use any currency in here with selected date. Let's check it. Let's go to 2000 and submit. Oh, the currency rates are low. Very low. Yes, this is how can we get XML and use it in instant flow and pass it to our app with ParseJson and use it from there. Yes. Thank you for watching.